We continue our Summer League analysis. Who improved their minutes in the big leagues? Who did not improve so much their minutes in the big leagues? Plus, we'll talk about the top 100 players a project Locked On is taking on. How many Hornets should make it? How many Hornets made the big boy NBA top 100 list? We'll talk about it all today. Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
This is the Locked On Hornets podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We are free and available anywhere you get your podcast, and that does include YouTube. There's Doug Branson. He's a part of everyhornetsboxscore.com. He also hosts another podcast on this very network, folks, Locked On NBA. He hosts with Matt Moore and Hayes. I'm Walker Mail. You can listen to me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. So we're still going to be eating at the Summer League plate content-wise for just a little while, baby. We're going back. We're going to talk about who improved their minutes. That will be the first segment. We'll move on to who didn't so much, who maybe lost minutes with the Summer League session, and then we'll go top 100. But there still are there's some things to chew on here with the Summer League meal that we're eating on. What you got, Doug?
Well, let's just pause on that idea that it is July 22nd of the year and we are still talking about Summer League. We would have moved on, but they won the championship, and there's so much to talk about. They took 6 rookie and sophomore players to summer, and they excelled. That's why we're talking about it. That in itself is the point.
Well, I mean, I want to dive a little more into this and the details tomorrow, so perhaps this content is stolen, but whatever. I'll tease it a little bit more. I did want to dive into just how much better Kon Knueppel's Summer League session was compared to every other Hornets draft pick in the first round over the last 10 years. And Kon Knueppel had the best Summer League session of any other Hornets first round pick since ... I'm not sure there's a name that comes after that ... I don't think so. It feels pretty certain.
KJ Simpson,
So,
I guess. I might be KJ.
Well, and he's a second round pick. So I'm first rounders, especially from an 18-year-old, a guy that wasn't one of these older players that was selected in the first round, and they always hit a little harder at first, but then the hit, it wanes. Oh,
you did say rookie. You did say rookie. I'm sorry. I thought
I just said first round rookie, right? I said first round rookie. So so of the picks you get excited about, you could go back to LaMelo, except he didn't play because of the COVID season, which that would have been the answer. I think LaMelo just would have been a rock star at Summer League. Yeah. But
Malik Monk, no, didn't play. Yeah,
didn't play. PJ Washington had the injury. I think he would have been good. So it perhaps because of injuries, perhaps because Kon was just flat out good. But anyways, we can dive maybe a little bit more into that tomorrow. Who improved their minutes? I think let's start with Kon. Doug, would you make the case for Kon Knueppel improving his minutes once he gets to the big league roster?
I think you at least have to have the conversation about him starting. I still don't think he will. I think he will begin the year on the bench. I think they'll have depending on Josh Green's health, they'll have a conversation about Josh Green versus Collin Sexton versus whatever other lineup. I don't know that Kon's going to start right off the bat, but just with that performance, with the passing, with the scoring, and I thought some defense that surprised me just a little bit with how effective he was. Now, the question will be, and they'll answer this, I think, in training camp and in preseason, how is that going to translate into him playing actual NBA competition? That's probably going to go more than anything he did in Vegas. That's going to decide whether or not he starts or not. But certainly I think he improved his minutes such that I think he's locked in to a strong bench role and that's the floor at this point.
It's hard to figure out based on how the Hornets have played their rookies in years past and with those different situations, how we should compare this situation with this specific player. So if you just go back to let's go to 2018. Okay, let's start with Miles Bridges just because he's on the team. It made sense in my head. So Miles Bridges comes in, he gets 20 minutes a game. The rookie's in line with that type of run. Miles got 20 a game. Mark Williams got 20 a game when he was healthy. And Tijon Salon, I think a very different style of 20 minutes per contest because of all the injuries they suffered. But Tijon Salon actually played more minutes per contest his rookie year than Miles did. That's something I don't think a lot of people would get right. So you have your 20 minutes per game rookies. Your let them loose right away rookies were P.J. Washington, who got 30, LaMelo Ball, who almost got to 30, Brandon Miller, who played over 30. So those are they're starting. They're a significant part of this team immediately. Those are different. That's a different set. And then in the other bucket, you have James Bouknight. You have Kai Jones, coming from the same NBA draft, by the way. Yeah, you have in that bucket guys that just didn't play. I mean, Kai Jones never saw the floor.
Just toss that bucket.
Yeah, James
that
Bouknight.
That bucket has a hole in it. That bucket has mildew at the bottom. You just want to go ahead and toss that bucket.
I think Plankton has a restaurant down in the Chum bucket with that one. So James Bouknight and Kai Jones. James Bouknight played a tiny, tiny bit, but that's less than 10 minutes. So where does Kon fit? Is he in the Chum bucket? Is he in the 20 minutes per game bucket? Or is he in the 30 minutes per game? Doug, I think 20, that's the easiest place to go, and I think it's the right place. I actually think he might create a new bucket for himself, though. I think he might be – could he get to 25 and just be in the middle of we let everybody else loose because they're clearly one of our better players? We still want to play them, but there's still some room to grow with that 20 minutes per game. And then Kai Jones, James Bouknight, that's not where Kon is. I think he might be in the middle of that group between 20 and 30 minutes per game their rookie year.
I think you're right. I think it's going to come down to matchups. Do they think he can handle the particular matchup that he has that night? And again, I'm going to say like on the defensive end, but also offensively, it's just going to depend on what they see his role as. Is it going to be more of a stationary, we make plays for you? Are they going to challenge him a little bit in his rookie year to try to make plays for himself? Because I thought that was one area where he did better at times in Summer League, and then other times, I mean, just going back to that championship game, there was a little ISO play that he had against Devin Carter, and he could not create space for himself, and he got down to the end of the shot clock and just had to hoist something up. And so I think there will be challenges, particularly when he is against smaller, quicker guards on both ends of the floor, him creating space for himself, not turning the ball over, and then defensively being able to stay in front of those players. But if he's playing against a little bit, somebody that's a little bigger and a little slower, then I think he could see a little bit more minutes that game. The other thing I would say is, like, in a Hornets universe where they didn't trade for Collin Sexton, I think Kon Knueppel starts. Like, I don't even think it's a conversation over even if Josh Green were healthy. I just think you start the guy. He's a 4th overall pick. You're not a very good team. You start Kon Knueppel. Collin Sexton, to me, does complicate it a little bit, and I think you're going to see a little bit of a battle in training camp and preseason to try to figure this whole thing out.
Well, that's the situation here as to what I was alluding to earlier and how hard it is to try to figure out, because not only do you have Collin Sexton, you bring back Trey Mann, you do have Spencer Dinwiddie. How much that's official, and maybe we use this to parlay into another player. Liam McNeeley played 2 games, Doug. Played 2 games. And he was really, really good. And you know what I was wrong about with Liam? I like the pick, fine. But I was wrong about Liam probably being the best candidate for Greensboro this year. Now, look, to make these sweeping statements off of 2 Summer League games, maybe that's still the case. Maybe. But I don't think so, man. Not after the way that he played. He's a healthier player this time around. So you could say the larger sample size, the better projection is the sample size that he played at UConn, except we've gone through those issues already. The ankle injury, pneumonia. Now he doesn't have the ankle injury. He doesn't have pneumonia. He has Achilles tendinopathy, apparently, but I don't know if that's just something they're saying to hold him out. I don't know how serious that is. But he looked pretty damn good in those first 2 games. I think you have to increase the minutes load for Liam McNeeley based on what we saw.
I would argue that Liam, if you're just talking about how much someone went from minutes 0 to minutes X, I think Liam improved more than Kon Knueppel, because I think Kon was already locked. When you're a 4th overall pick, you're going to get minutes, particularly on a team that won 19 games. Of course you're going to get minutes, right? Liam, that was not a given, it being a 29th overall selection, even though he's a first-round pick. And so, I think Liam improved his minutes load. Now, again, same thing with Kon, though. He's got to go into training camp and preseason and prove it out and be healthy. But I think Liam McNeeley made the case that he's improved his minutes more than anybody, more than KJ, KJ had an amazing summer, but he's got some rotation station issues with players that are in front of him with experience and size. I think KJ probably improved his minutes 2 seasons from now. Like he's planted that seed very firmly that, hey, I'm a player that you want to continue to invest in. But in terms of next season, I would say Liam improved most, and then Kon Knueppel. By the way, what I was wrong about with Liam McNeeley, everything.
Real quickly, over under on minutes per game. This is a fun segment with Josh Lloyd when he does the team previews going into every season. I think for Kon, I would set it at 23 minutes per game. Mm-hmm. And for Liam, that one's tough. What do you think? What do you think about 13? 13,
I think
okay?
I was thinking
maybe less.
Well, I was thinking max 15, so I think 13 is good. Like I think I could see him as, just that, and I don't think it would be every game. I don't know that Liam but we've got training camp, we've got preseason. If he continues to do it, obviously, then you lock him in. I see a couple of these guys as like, oh, they could be. Particularly at the beginning of the season when they're experimenting a little bit, you could see some of these guys play one night and maybe not play another night.
And maybe we're dead wrong just because Liam can play some 3, and there's not a logjam at 3. There's a logjam in the backcourt, but there is not one at 3. And unless you just experiment with some 3-guard lineups, which they absolutely should with the amount of guards, and they absolutely will. Liam McNeeley can give you some size out there on the perimeter, so maybe I'm wrong on that. That one's hard to project.
He might steal some minutes from Tijan.
God.
Just in terms of
I mean, that one's hard to project, man. That's really difficult. All right, coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
Did we get through all the players that improved their minutes per game, or did we leave a couple out there still? We'll discuss that. Then we'll get to the guys that lost some minutes in this Summer League session. That's still to come. Locked On Hornets. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can be. Thank you, Doug. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center, and you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. What's that one financial goal you've been meaning to get serious about? Do you ever wish you had all your accounts and spending in one place? MonarchMoney.com can help you with all of that. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at MonarchMoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's MonarchMoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Did we get to everybody that improved their minutes, Doug? KJ Simpson wasn't a name that we really discussed all that much. You said he increased his minutes load 2 years from now. Yep. How much wiggle room is there to see KJ Simpson on an NBA floor?
What injury, right? I mean, if a couple guys get injured, maybe even one player gets injured, KJ gets minutes. And so insofar as he really sort of solidified the idea that KJ Simpson is a part of this team moving forward and should be given minutes if that opportunity arises, he improved his minutes. I mean, there's a universe where he just completely stinks. The Hornets exit after, that conciliatory 5th game, and they don't do anything. KJ Simpson's not a leader, and they just move on from him completely and say, all right, 2-way, no way, we're moving on. So he improved his minutes in that way. But in terms of minutes that he got last season to minutes this season, I think it's at neutral.
I think there are 2 other names that deserve looking over. One that maybe deserves a significant portion of this segment, and one that doesn't so much. So Jalen Sims, same thing from Liam McNeeley, 0 to some amount, whatever that looks like. Perhaps because of injury, I equated it to this G League call-up in the middle of the season when you're a little tiny bit desperate for bodies. He's the first in line, whereas last year, Jalen Sims probably wasn't the first in line. In fact, he just definitely wasn't the first in line. Maybe he's the guy that you call for if you're desperate for bodies. So Jalen Sims, yes, from 0 to X, he probably fits that category. But Tijan Salan is the other one. Tijan looked improved in the games that he played. He played 3 games this Summer League stint. The first 2, I think most people walked away from those 2 games feeling very good while also understanding there are still flaws here. 3rd game, not so much. Didn't play nearly as much, and then it sat out the rest of the Summer League session. Did Tijan Salan improve his minutes per contest, Doug? Yes or no?
No. I don't agree with Jalen Sims either. I think that they've added too many bodies, particularly in the draft. When you draft 4 players, you've got to focus on those 4 players and where they all fit. And so Jalen Sims, I think he may have increased his role with the Greensboro Swarm. I really think he might have increased his role with another team. Like if I'm another team and I saw what Jalen Sims did with the Hornets, similar to PJ Hall, I just call up and see what Sims' availability is and bring him into their organization. So we might see Sims on an NBA floor, but if we see him on an NBA floor with a Charlotte Hornets uniform on, then we've entered some kind of injury apocalypse for the 3rd or 4th season in a row. Like it's not a good thing if we see Jalen Sims again. So I would say neutral to he's improved his minutes for another team. On the Tijan Salon front, I came into summer not understanding what exactly Tijan Salon's role was going to be with the Charlotte Hornets. Even though I agree with you that I saw some improvement, I did not see enough improvement where I have any more clarity on that idea. And so I'm in a neutral place with Tijan Salon, maybe possibly even hurt his minutes only because they have added so many other players, and Tijan Salon's improvements were not fast enough. They were not enough where I look at it and say, oh yeah, for sure. I know exactly where they can play him, how they can play him, and I know they're confident in playing him.
Well, the only thing I would say is who's your backup? So you have Miles Bridges. Grant Williams coming off of a devastating knee injury, which maybe isn't discussed enough. This wasn't just your typical torn ACL. Everything was torn in that knee. It's a long rehab process. I'm not sure he's going to be back before January. So now, if that's the case, I don't know that. I haven't heard anything about that, but I'm just not sure he's coming back before 2026. So if that's the case, Miles Bridges is your starting 4. And then it's Tijan Salon, and you're kind of going to some unconventional stuff for tertiary. If somebody gets injured there, then Tijan Salon, I just don't know who's in front of him. It's not the logjam that it is in the backcourt.
Oh, no, I'm having this conversation assuming Grant Williams is coming back. So I'm assuming health here. So, I think if he's injured, obviously, then Tijan Salon's going to get minutes. But, I don't – in a world – because in Grant Williams, I don't see like Tijan then being – sort of a 3rd string power forward who also gets minutes, because I don't think he like flexes well to 3 necessarily. So
no, I don't think so either.
And then, he's sort of caught in this. Would I be shocked if Tijan Salon was part of some deal before the trade deadline that involved other players to get more picks? No, because he exists in this like tweener world that the Hornets, they're not necessarily, with these moves that they made this past offseason, they're not exactly like carving out a role for him. And I just want to be clear, like I did see improvement from Tijan. The game looked like it slowed down. He was doing less of the insane stuff that we saw from him in his first summer league game, first summer league stint, and even into the regular season. There were still those moments where he was taking, step back, the 3-point shots. You were going, okay, that might not have necessarily been the greatest decision there, but particularly in transition, I thought he was more slowed down, more controlled, looking to move the basketball around the floor before looking for himself. So there were improvements, but I'm still not looking at a player that I'm like, Charles Lee's going to be super confident that when he's on the floor, everything works. I feel that way about Liam McNeeley after 2 games. I feel that way about Kon Knueppel. I don't feel that way about Tijan Salon.
Yeah, okay. I will say, sometimes this happens. I am surprised about this take from you, and it's not like I'm shocked, right? I'm just a tiny bit surprised. I know Tijan has been your boy. I know that has been the whispers of Giannis. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's not your. I got you. That it doesn't mean that he's not your boy. Sometimes tone, nonverbal cues, that type of communication, it feels different with Salon. Does it feel different to you, or am I mishearing that?
So I'm taking off my boy hat and I'm putting on my analyst hat. And see, this is the neat thing about our show is that we can be fans sometimes of players, of teams. We can also like be realistic about what we're looking at. And that's really what I'm looking at. I take a trip to Rotation Station, choo-choo, and I look at it and I say, man, I'm not sure what the Hornets are really going to do with this guy. And I watch him in Summer League and I see a player that has made some improvements. Now, I think they can be very patient with Tijan Salon. He's super young. He's super malleable. They obviously invested in him enough this summer where you have Charles Lee going to his personal workouts, working on stuff with him. Jeff Peterson in attendance as well. I don't think they've given up on Tijan Salon, but I think they've added players in the offseason such that the message to me is we're going to be patient with this guy and we're going to figure out what he is as he figures out what he is. And that's just the situation.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. Sometimes it's just a little hard to see what hat you got on. You got a bunch over there. You can see the hat
you
rack
see them all
in
back
the back.
there. Yeah,
Sometimes it's just a little hard to see which one you have on. Let's continue this conversation. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast.
Bees everywhere!
Okay, who hurt their minutes this upcoming season? We'll still get to that top 100 list, both the official, I guess, NBA top 100 players list, how many Hornets are on it, and the Locked On top 100 players list, how many should be on it. That's still to come, LOH. All right, let's finish up with the other rookies here, Doug. Sion James, Ryan Kalkbrenner. Let's go there first because Sion is a little more complicated, didn't play as much, was out because of, I guess, the injury report, but, whatever. Kalkbrenner, we thought there was a real opportunity for him to come in. Dominate seems strong, but maybe be could he be a 14-8 kind of guy that just swatted a whole bunch of stuff out of the paint? Good and bad. We documented that in every single game he played, which was 6. He played in every single Summer League game this session. I would say, I'm trying to think if it's neutral or if he heard it.
I think he heard it.
Whatever the answer is, it's somewhere in that line of there needs to be a real improvement from now to training camp, to preseason, to regular season for him to get back to a place where people can feel comfortable enough, I stress, enough with the center rotation. But yeah, I think I'm with you. If I had to choose, I would say he maybe heard it just a little tiny bit.
Well, and maybe the way you feel about this is going to depend on your expectations. My expectation for him was 5-year college player, multi-time defensive player of the year. Like he should come to Summer League and play better than the typical rookie expectation for a player. And I don't think he did that. And in fact, I think the guy that got signed to another team, to the Memphis Grizzlies, PJ Hall, was one of the more talked about bigs and maybe the best big that the Hornets had in limited minutes. I mean, Kalkbrenner got more minutes, averaged 25 per game. PJ Hall averaged 13.7, and I thought made more of a statement than Ryan Kalkbrenner did. Let's see, shot 56% from the field, shot 28.6% from 3. That's another thing too. Like, I think there's a speed issue, there's a movement issue, and then he did hit a couple of threes, but not enough where I'm like, oh, great. The Hornets have replaced what they lost in Jusuf Nurkic. They still have a shooting big. Now we're right back to where we've always been, which is the Hornets don't have a single center on the roster where I feel anywhere near confident that they can knock down a 3. Maybe that changes. There's time. Again, I just want to back up and just let everyone know that there's time in training camp to change all of this. I'm just talking about what I saw in Las Vegas, and I did not see a player in Ryan Kalkbrenner that is going to demand starter minutes. Unlike the depth chart that they kept showing with him in the starting role. But he had that opportunity, and I don't think he necessarily seized it.
Well, no, and I'm with you on that. I would say the shooting, if you have somebody come in at 7'1", 260 and hit a couple of threes in Summer League, I do think there's absolutely something real.
Sure.
Especially with the complete lack of shooting from Mark Williams. It's funny you bring the 28% up. That's exactly what Nurkic shot for the Hornets last year. So he shot 28% last year. He shot 32 for the Suns and then 26. Like, it's one of those, okay, he can hit them every once in a while, but the defense is still probably going to let him shoot those shots. That's how it is. At least he can hit them, where if you're Mark, you just completely ignore him. We're packing the paint. We're not letting anybody get into the paint. Where with Nurkic, it's we're going to ignore you, but it's on my radar. If you hit 2, all right, now I got to come out and at least give the drivers a little bit more space here. And I think Kalkbrenner is more so in the latter compared to what all the other centers that we've had previously were.
Let me be very clear. I'm not out on Kalkbrenner at all. I'm still actually I'm pretty high on his floor and where he can develop into. And in fact, the Hornets don't win a Summer League championship without Ryan Kalkbrenner. because not only did he have a bone-crushing screen that set up the Kon Knueppel 3 with 35 seconds left that helped drive the Hornets to win that championship game, he had a game-winning block, like a game-sealing block. Like that could have easily been points, and then they lose that game, and they never even get to the Summer League playoffs. So, and also Ryan Kalkbrenner obviously knows where to be. Like he proved the thing that everybody thought for a 5-year college player, you got to know what you're doing. He knows what he's doing. There are just things that have to be ironed out before I'm ready to say, oh, Kalkbrenner, he's definitely locked in as a starting center for the Charlotte Hornets moving forward. The other guy, Sion James, I would say hurt his minutes because he didn't hit threes. And that was something you talked about a lot. Sion had to come in, knock down shots. He didn't. He's going to have to get healthy and show that he could do that in training camp and preseason.
Yeah, only 2 games for Sion. I think defensively, I'm not sure that I saw like a Kogi level, which is maybe what it takes in Summer League to be just in complete awe of what Sion James did defensively. I don't know if I saw that. I didn't see any real issues with what he did defensively, but he didn't hit shots. There in the first game, there were some nice cuts and some playmaking actually closer to the basket, which
the slot, the sideline out of bounds plays that he kept hitting, that like over and over, he kept getting open for those plays.
Okay, top 100 list, Doug. This is your world, what we got here for the top 100 players in the NBA, the Locked On NBA Top 100. What we got?
Well, so we didn't talk about this pre-show, but the top 100 NBA, not the Locked On Top 100 NBA, is actually a list from Bleacher Report where they ranked the top 100 players of all time in the NBA. And I just wanted to very briefly...
Okay, I got you. Okay.
It wasn't for the
That's
season.
very different. Gotcha.
It wasn't for the season. And I don't even want to really, I don't know that this warrants a discussion. I just wanted to hit you with a little pop quiz hot shot and see if you could name the 4 players that have donned a Hornets uniform who ended up on Bleacher Report's top 100 players of all time.
Okay, so
I have it right here.
Okay, well, I remember going to the tops or the 75th anniversary team. And I know the guy that was like a true Hornet, Alonzo Mourning is the guy that I feel like is the closest to that 75th. So I'm going to start with Zoe being a top 100 player of all time.
I should pull the list up so that I can actually tell you where these guys landed.
Sure. No, that's fine. Alonzo Mourning, I think, was the closest to that 75th anniversary team, so he's top 100. Robert Parrish put on a Hornets uniform, so he's got to be on the list. Yeah, so Parrish has to be on the list. I prepared more so for currently. Yeah, and I thought I had it.
This is good.
Time.
87th, Alonzo Mourning, 87th out of 100 players all time. And then let me get the Chief, Robert Parrish, who played alongside Alonzo Mourning, by the way. That they did double big before it was cool. Robert Parrish, 68th all time.
So, okay, now we have to do some like Twilight stuff like we did with Parrish. Tony Parker is on this list.
Yes, he is.
Okay.
Congratulations. You've got 3 of 4. Hold on. Let me tell you where Tony Parker is. Tony Parker's 86. So right there. In fact, Alonzo Mourning, 87. Okay. Tony Parker, 86. Ooh la la.
All right. This is going to be the tough one for me because LJ, I don't think made it. Glenn Rice, as much as I love him, I don't think Glenn Rice.
Let me just tell you something. The person that you can't think of actually ranks higher than Alonzo Mourning, Tony Parker, and Robert Parrish.
So it has to be some kind of God. What? Oh, Dwight Howard.
Ah, you get it. You did it. Yes, Dwight Howard, 52.
Sweet.
Almost made the top 50. Dwight Howard.
There you go. Yeah, that's the thing, right? I've always, when they released the top 50, that was in '92, so the Hornets didn't even exist all that much. And then when they released the 75th anniversary team, that was just a couple of years ago. And there's no true Hornet that makes it, because we could do the Robert Parrish, Tony Parker thing, but there's no true Hornet that makes it. And I feel like Zoe has a place in Hornets history to where you envision him in a Hornets uni. And he was as close as it could get. And that's the only guy on this list even. That's the only guy on the top 100 list. All those other players you mentioned, you don't think about those guys as real Hornets. You do with Zoe, even if it's not his first team.
So here's the point that I would make off of this discussion. Really the only thing I have to say about this is that we talk a lot about historic Hornets misery. It's part of the sickness that we've been doing this for 30 plus years now, 35 plus years. And they've never been to a conference finals. They've never played on Christmas Day. They've obviously never won a championship. You can't win a championship unless you actually make it to the conference finals or win a playoff series, which they haven't done in 20 years. They haven't been to a playoff series in nearly 10 years. So we talk about all of that, and that's why we got so excited about the Summer League championships. That's why we cried real human tears when Kon Knueppel was lifting the MVP trophy, right? And so you can obviously go to bad management, bad ownership. The Hornets have, you make this point all the time, the Hornets have had like 3 of the 5 worst owners in NBA history. Like it's incredible to think about. That obviously has a lot to do with it. But an underrated part is that even bad owners and bad general managers trip and fall into all-time greats. And so, sometimes it's obvious. They just get a high draft pick and they draft that player. And sometimes, again, you just find Giannis Antetokounmpo in the middle of a draft. So the Hornets have never done that. Somehow, in 35 years, they have never managed to just trip and fall into one of these top 100, I don't know how far you'd have to go back to get to LJ, maybe 150, 200, but they just haven't found that player that can propel the franchise into something special, and that's why we're sick.
It's why, Glenn Taylor even just falls, backwards into Kevin Garnett, and it's just like we'll run into one Western Conference Finals, and that hasn't happened here.
Sacramento is the other franchise. Like we're sort of in arm in arm, and Sacramento finally made their Christmas Day game a few years ago, but they're another team.
And they had a team that people resonate with that tooth that they got to the conference finals. They were close. They had all sorts of shenanigans happen in the 7-game series, I think, against the Lakers in one of those early 2000s. I think was it 2000 exactly? Anyways, 02.
Yeah, and they had to build that team, right? I mean, that took a lot of GM savvy. That wasn't falling in to one particular player. Like it was Vlade Dottie, it was Peja Stojakovic, it was Bibby. Like it was players that they built that team. The Hornets they were so close in 2001 when they were up against those Ray Allen Bucks. They were so close to being that team. I really do believe if they had, I don't want to get into it. It's too painful.
That's too painful. It's too painful.
I don't think they would have left. I don't think they would have left.
By the way, shout out to Salisbury's own Bobby Jackson, 6th Man of the Year, also on those Kings teams. Just wanted to shout out a local hero. There's also the Locked On NBA Top 100. We've been doing these summer projects. I know the NFL side of things, they gave you a Mount Rushmore. The AI created Mount Rushmore pictures of the faces etched in stone. I don't think we're doing that, but apparently we're doing a Locked On NBA Top 100. What you got on this here, Doug?
I submitted a number of, you had to submit your top. They had 8 slots, and because I'm a sicko, I just went ahead and ranked. I think Kon Knueppel ended up being the fifth best player on the Hornets. It's crazy.
So I think that's a this year thing, right?
Yeah. So they're doing it this year, and I think LaMelo's going to make it. I think this is really easy, right? LaMelo's going to make it somewhere towards the bottom, probably 50 to 75. Not bottom, but 50 to 75, maybe 80. And then I think Brandon's off because he missed too many games last year. Probably would have been on had he played.
It's going to be close.
60 plus. Miles is not going to make it. So I think LaMelo is going to be the sole person on the top 100. But it was a fun exercise.
Well, so when you asked me this at first, the NBA Top 100, and you said 4 Hornets made it, 1, I was very surprised. But the 4 players that I would have guessed, I thought that was pretty easy with LaMelo, Brandon, Miles are your top 3, and then I thought Collin Sexton might have squeezed in there somewhere, somehow. So that would be that's when I thought, I was like, goodness gracious, no way 4 guys made the list, but here we are.
Yeah, so I think that's the only. So now we've just put it out into the world, and now someone, I don't know who, it's not me, someone will go and choose the top. If it were me, I would just put 5 Hornets on there. I'd sneak Kon Knueppel in through the back door and
Summer League MVP. Do you have? Summer League
how can
MVP
you deny the man? That should be 100 right there. Summer League MVP should automatically qualify you for the 100th position on the NBA Top 100. Come on.
There's Doug Branson. He is a top 100 host on the Locked On Podcast Network. He hosts 2 podcasts, Locked On Hornets and his other pod, Locked On NBA, which you should make your second listen. He hosts that alongside Matt Moore and Hayes, talking about all the big stories happening in the association. I'm Walker Mail. Listen to me, WFNZ, every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m., 92.7 FM. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be back with you tomorrow.